Hi friends, if I sound a little bit nasally, I apologize. I'm recovering from a cold, just on the tail end of it. Still a little bit funny sounding. So if you are reading the title of this and you're like, what the heck? You guys tried public school? Yes, we did. One of our kids wanted to try public school this year, and as a family, we embraced the choice. And I want to sit down and talk to you guys about it. I swear I'm not as sick as I sound anymore. Drinking all the tea and just trying to not sound like I'm sick because I don't feel sick anymore. Anyway, it was a learning experience for all of us, but the transition was not as smooth as we had hoped. And yeah, let's just say we learned a lot. I'm not going to share the entire experience of our child's experience, but I am going to share with permission what happened a little bit, and also just more my experience or our family's experience, just to keep the details of his own story his. And that's the other thing. Grayson tried it. Not all of my kids. Grayson is, if you're new here, he's 10, and so he tried out the 5th grade. My daughter, who is in 9th grade, she's turning 14 here in a week. She was not interested at all in trying out public school, but our son was. And it has been a season of challenges, and I'll go into that in a moment, but also of such wonderful clarity that I'm very, very grateful for. I don't necessarily love the way we did this trial. I don't necessarily agree with our own decision to do the trial. That's a complex thing to say, but I also don't regret it because it taught us so much, and I feel like we are so much stronger in our foundations and what we believe and what we want for our kids. As much as we appreciate every family's unique path, we have learned just how much homeschooling is a part of who we are as a family, who we are as individuals, who we are as people. It's been a really interesting learning curve. And yes, some of you might be a little bit surprised because I kept it completely off of anything. I did not speak about it on my Instagram, not here on YouTube, nothing. Also, if you've noticed, I did chop off my hair. I don't think I showed it on YouTube. I did share on Instagram, but if you noticed that, chop that off. It feels so good. Thank you for anybody who is thinking that it looks good. How do I preemptively thank somebody? The audacity. Just imagine nobody says anything and I'm like, thanks. Okay, we all know what I meant, right? I hope so. Okay. Baby is having a nap beside me. Zeg is upstairs with Mackenzie for a little bit. So I'm gonna sit down. I actually tried filming this and Zeg was yelling through it because he thinks me talking to the camera is hilarious. So we had to scrap that. We're starting over. So Grayson tried public school. This wasn't just a decision we were going into the year with. It kind of just happened and it was very quick. Again, not going to share all the details just because the internet doesn't need all the details, but we had our homeschool facilitator meeting. We have a facilitator and she comes and visits us in our home twice a year. That's because we are funded in Alberta in Canada, and we receive funding for homeschooling our kids. We had our facilitator visit on a Wednesday. We made the decision on a Thursday, and he started school on Monday. So that's how quick it happened. I'm trying to think of what I want to say, so I'm sorry if I'm pausing or saying a lot, or there's a lot of cuts in this video. Mostly this decision stemmed from a curiosity. Grayson wanted to try it. We've always said if our kids wanted to try public school, we would not stand in their way. We would allow them to try. We would help them. Our kids matter in what they want. What they want matters. Now, there's a whole side tangent I could go on about how at the end of the day, I really feel that it's the parents' decision and we are responsible for maintaining the family values and what we want, and our children, I really don't believe, can make every single decision for themselves because their brain is still developing, blah, blah, blah. All that aside, we always said that if our kids wanted to try it, they could try it. I think Grayson had it in his head that school, so by the way, our kids have never ever been in public school, ever. They've been homeschooled their entire lives. preschool, high school at this point now, for my oldest. Like, so I think he had it in his head that school was, like, he had this idea of school based on shows, TV. He is a very sociable kid and he has a big social life. So like we go to a lot of homeschool activities and classes. He has a big group of homeschool friends. He has a big group of public school friends. A pretty social kid, likes to be involved in a lot of stuff. So in that aspect, we knew that he would thrive in that area, and maybe this would be best for him. Who knows? Like maybe he's just at a point where he just needs to like be in that environment. Sure, maybe, right? So I also just think he had this idea of what school was, and I think he needed to get it out of his system and like actually see her for himself what school was like, because without saying too much, out of respect for him and like his privacy, that was kind of starting to play into our homeschool a little bit. And I think it was a grass is greener situation. Homeschooling was becoming difficult with him. He wasn't meeting me halfway. Like past a certain age, if you have younger homeschoolers, maybe you haven't learned this yet, but if you have older homeschoolers, you know that your kids at a certain point, they do have to meet you halfway. They have to participate. They have to be willing to do what you've agreed to do in order for homeschooling to work in most cases. We were kind of losing that balance. And I think part of it was he wanted to try, but he wasn't sure how to ask that he wanted to try. Anyway, we figured it out. We decided we were gonna do this. He was excited about it. A little nervous, of course, but very positive experience for him going into it. For me, I'm not going to lie, I don't regret the trial, but a lesson that's been coming up for me a lot is listening to my own self, trusting my own intuition. The night before he went to school, I had a bit of a breakdown. I was really upset with myself. I felt like it was a really wrong decision for our family. I felt like it was a really wrong decision for him. Like I knew that there was two sides to this where like I was going to have to face some ego stuff. Like as a homeschooling mom, you guys know that I'm a homeschool mom. I talk about homeschooling all the time. I'm part of our big homeschool community and locally. I knew there would be some ego stuff that I had to totally separate in order to, you know, help him in this decision. And like, I don't know, I hope you understand where I'm going with that. So we decided to do a 2-week trial. We did not make the 2 weeks. We made it 3 days. And I'm gonna explain that. The day before he went, I kind of had a bit of a breakdown and I was like, I feel like I didn't listen to myself. I feel like I didn't trust myself. I feel like I let too much outside influence my decision making. I feel like I regret agreeing to this. I was struggling with it. But it was already too late to like, he was excited. He had already gone to bed. I wasn't gonna just be like, wake him up and be like, never mind, you're not trying it. So I'm glad we tried it, but there was this point where I just knew that it was wrong for our family. But I was battling with it because I was like, is this actually wrong for our family, or am I just feeling like it's wrong because it's different? Am I just feeling like it's wrong because I feel like maybe I'm failing as a homeschool mom because he wants to go to public school? Like, what is this? I was trying to separate, you know, like personal feeling from actual what was happening. So it was really tough for me. That's why you guys didn't see anything about it, because I wanted to experience it first. We wanted to get through it, decide what we were doing with it before I talked about it. So he was starting actually like 2 weeks into the school year, and the reason this was such a quick, like happened so quick and we decided to jump into this decision is there's a few factors, but it was kind of one of those things where it was like, if we're going to do it, we need to do it now, because we get funding, like I had mentioned before. Not only do we get funding, we don't care about the funding. The funding is nice, but like if we didn't get the funding, whatever. But we have a school facilitator and she gets paid as her job per student she has registered under her. And so that mattered. We don't want to not have her get paid because there's a funding cutoff. You have to be registered by this date, otherwise you don't receive the funding for that year. Same thing happens in the public school system. If you're not registered by this date, the school does not receive funding for that child. So We have really full schools right now, so we knew he would be accepted because the funding cutoff hadn't happened yet. We live in an area where like you don't have to go to school at the nearest school. You can pick any school in the town. But we so happen to live near the newest, best school, and our neighborhood is being developed around the school. And so I could throw a rock at it, and it just so happened to be like that would probably be the school we would choose anyway. So that's the school we went with. And I'm glad we did the trial when we did it because the like first week excitement was already died down and all the kids were into their lessons and the curriculum had kicked off and like teachers were like, okay, we got to get stuff done now. Grayson had his first day, but I knew in the first week he would really be getting a school experience and we would have a pretty well-rounded idea for how it was going to go because they were already like doing the material. Does that make sense? Got him all ready. He has like a first day of school picture that like the morning we sent him. I'll put that here now. He looks so cute already. He was so nervous but also so excited. We went, we chatted with the principal, dropped him off and walked out, which felt so weird. It felt so weird. Cody and I were like, we are not public school parents. What is this? I had a great first day. There was a lot of things that I knew he would need to adjust to and he knew he would have to adjust to. Like as homeschoolers, he's not used to having to get up and be out the door by a certain time in the morning. They don't have to be ready for school until about 9 a.m. And that's flexible, obviously, because we're homeschoolers. So he had to be out the door by like just after 8, and he was like, that was new for him. We also knew that he would only be getting certain increments of breaks, 15 minutes for recess, and then 20 minutes to eat your lunch, and 25 minutes for an after lunch recess. And like you need to do that and eat your lunch in time, and that would be a difficulty, a learning curve too. So he did have some troubles with that, not like getting up and going to school, but like for example, I noticed every day he had come home, he hadn't eaten all his lunch or like didn't have time to eat lunch because they were also doing tours and like getting all his books ready and stuff during his recesses, which I have some opinions about, but anyway, it is what it is, and we flowed with the process. And then on day 2, he came home and we discussed things and we looked at like his homework and stuff, and the first thing we noticed was that he was ahead of what they were already teaching, which I was expecting, but I wasn't really prepared for like the quality of the education in the school. I knew it was mediocre. It just is. I wasn't prepared for like how mediocre it was, and that I'm not trying to sound like a jerk. It's just kind of like I'm not trying to watch my words. I just don't want to go on a giant rant because I could. It just wasn't good learning. It was like copy and paste. Be a good repeater. Be a good memorizer. The quality of learning was really trash. Like even on day 2, I could see by the stuff he was bringing home and what he was learning and what he was reflecting that he had learned and discussions with the school that like it was really not good and not what he was used to. So for him, he was like, this is easy because I've already done all this stuff. So I was like, sure, cool. He enjoyed the social aspect, of course. He enjoyed knowing some kids in his class. He enjoyed the sport. Our school is like a sports-centered school, so he really enjoyed like the sports. They do like longer gym every day. There's like a sports academy with it. It's cool. We only made it to day 3. Day 1 was like honeymoon phase. Day 2, he was like, this is fine, but I can see, we were having like extensive family conversations about this too when he would get home. He was like, okay, I can see how this is like, this is fine. And on day 3, he came home and he was like, I still enjoyed it. Like this gym was fun and being with friends was fun, but there was a situation that happened on day 3 with a teacher that just paired with the stuff we had already seen 3 days in. There's an incident with a teacher. I'm not going to get into it too much. And it wasn't like some abnormal incident. This teacher has decided that this is their teaching style. And it was a collection of things. Like there was a situation that was handled poorly. Like Grayson wasn't in the wrong at all. I feel like all the teachers knew that he was a homeschool transfer. This was his 3rd day of school ever. I felt like there should have been a little bit more grace for some things. I don't know. It's really hard to give details without like sharing the actual event. It's not that I don't want to share. It's just that like I just feel weird because this is his experience, and I do have his permission to talk about this, but we just don't need to put all the details on the internet, you know what I mean? Anyway, we had this issue, and like he came home and he told me, and like it was a simple thing revolving his lunch again, and he had not eaten, and this is the 3rd day he came home and not eaten, or eaten very little the couple days before, and he just didn't eat all this day because of what this teacher had done. And it was not linked to behavior or anything like that. I feel like I should stress that. He was a very, very good boy. He is a very good boy. I had already basically been like, this is not gonna work, and I'm just waiting for Grayson to see that like school was not what he had in his head. But I was staying quiet, minding my P's and Q's, letting him have the experience, and I was hoping he would kind of come to the conclusion himself. He came home day 3 and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I think I want to finish the week, or maybe if you want me to do, I'll finish the trial. We were going to do a 2-week trial. He said, but like, I'm going to homeschool after this. This is not for me. And after hearing what had happened, I was like, Mama Bear activated. I was like, absolutely not. You're not going back. That principal's going to get a rude awakening in the morning when I show up. Yeah, it was like, I was like, okay. And so Cody and I discussed it. Gosh, I don't even know what to talk about here. It's just so tough because I could share this like big story and it could be like maybe an entertaining story to listen to, but like I want to talk more about the lessons we learned in this. And I'm not against public school. We let him try it. I was willing to step aside and be like, okay, if this is going to be better for him, then we're going to let him do this. Maybe he would really thrive in this environment, more so than homeschooling. And then, okay, then I would have to like step aside and allow that to be what happens. But seeing the material and like just the quality of learning was so not good. I wish I could explain that better. Like, oh, it was just, this sounds weird, but like maybe this makes me sound a little whatever, but nothing has made me more confident, like so confident in homeschooling than this experience. Like nothing has made me realize we are doing so much extra academically. We can relax so much if we're doing like, oh, now especially that we're going into high school credits with my daughter, and we've gone through all of the like beginnings of that, and we're starting to build credits. Like they have to pass a test to get a diploma. You can graduate and get a diploma like everybody else here homeschooling. Like in order to pass the school system's test to get your diploma, I was like, that's all we have to do. Like really, that's the bar is so low. We've been doing so much extra that like we can relax a lot, and all the anxieties I was feeling going into this year just like melted away, which I'm grateful for the experience for that. And I'm grateful that like Grayson got to try it, and he was like, you know, maybe in high school he wants to go back and we'll explore that again. Like maybe this will be a high school thing. It's definitely one of those decisions that like Cody and I are like, no, as the parent, we would have stepped in and been like, no, anyway. But I'm glad that like he came to the decision on his own, that he was like, this isn't for me. He said like, 'cause he's so wise and we have these conversations as a family and we talk so thoroughly about things. He knew that like, he was like, I like the social part. I like gym class. I like the sports. I'm having fun there. He's like, but I can do that in my homeschool sports class. I can sign up for soccer. I can do this and get that experience somewhere else. He knew that he needed to be comparing the academic portion too. And he was like, this is not fun. I'm bored. It's not, I don't feel like I'm actually learning anything. And then with this experience with this teacher, we were like, okay, if this is happening on day 3, what's it going to look like 3 months into the school year? What's going to be happening? What is our son going to be experiencing? And that's where as parents, we were like, no. Hi, Betty.
Hello.
Hi, buddy. Mama's just filming a video. Anyway, I feel like we learned a lot of lessons. I feel like I learned a lot of lessons. One of the things being that obviously, like, I need to chill out and be less hard on myself for, like, what we're actually covering. It has given me a lot of freedom because we've gone through a lot of changes in, like, what you guys have seen a couple of my last homeschool videos. Like, we went from, like, curriculum to, like, back to unschooling, back to curriculum, back to, like, all this credit building. That's been complicated and giving me anxiety as a teacher, like as their mom, as the homeschool parent. So I am really grateful for that because it's taken so much weight off of things, and I feel like the personal growth from this for everybody, like, it even affected my oldest who didn't try public school. There were so many lessons that we learned, and I feel like that's really gonna carry us forward, and it's gonna change the way we homeschool from here on out permanently. Like, I fully believe that. Also, I just realized how difficult it would have been too to, like, have one in the public school system, have one, like, because you know you're 9 to 5, you're, like, doing that very systematic schedule, and I underestimated how much that was going to affect the kids still homeschooling at home. One, it's like we can't do the things we normally do because we have to wait for school to get out, or we have to be there, or he has to completely miss out and he's not going to be experiencing all these fun things that, like, make our life what it is. Does that make sense? Like, our dynamic, our values as a family, Cody and I had a lot of conversations about this, like how we want our children raised, the way we want to help nourish them and grow them. We lost so much by just him being in school for that long. He lost so much time with his siblings. He really struggled with that. Like, he was like, oh, I get like a couple hours with my siblings and I have to balance it with this and there's homework. And it's like, that was a really big struggle for him right off the bat. Immediately, he didn't realize how much he was losing, and he didn't realize how much I don't think he realized how much he had, how much freedom he actually had. So that was a big lesson for us, but also, like, just even from Cody and I's perspective, like, it just doesn't align with our family values and how we've been raising up our children and how we plan to continue to raise our children. And, like, now that we're doing, like, a second wave of kids because of the big age gap, it's almost like we're even firmer in our family values. Like, we've figured out what our family values were. Okay, now we know what they are. And now we can, like, we're so much more confident, so much more direct in them. And so this experiment really solidified those pieces to our family as well. Like, our kids were raised in a very, like, Waldorf-y early education. We still really believe in that. We still call ourselves, like, Waldorf-ish. Are you okay? And it's such a stark difference to how the public school world functions. Yeah, I have a lot of opinions I could go into on that. I just, like, don't feel like I need to right now. If you guys ever want to hear, like, really uncut versions of Rainbow, let me know. Just, like, I don't know. It just doesn't align with our views on the world. We don't want to be part of the rat race. We're not interested. And public school trains you to be part of the rat race. It really does. And there's really only so much escaping that, no matter how hard you try. And I knew that, but I don't think I realized it as much as experiencing it firsthand ourselves. So anyway, the Millers had a trial of public school, and we are homeschoolers through and through. We won't be doing that again unless I will say that, like, Cody and I don't know if our kids will want to. Like, Mackenzie has no interest in it whatsoever, my oldest daughter. Grayson might want to try it again and, like, give it a semester try or something like that for high school, and we would be open to that. By then, their values are, like, their foundation is built. You know what I mean? Like, they're not wobbly. Nobody else is, like, building that foundation for you. They have built their foundation with your help and, like, your values and your morals and, like, the way you want to raise your kids, you know? Like, that is, I think people underestimate the power of that. I want my kids to grow into, yes, they're going to be messed up by me. Like, everybody is messed up by their parents a little bit. Like, we're not perfect humans, but, like, I want to give my kids the best start I can give them. I want to give them the best foundation for an adult life, because your child is so small. You're an adult most of your life. I want to be able to give them the deepest roots so that I can give them really big wings. You know what I mean? I am left with an overwhelming amount of peace that we are doing what's right for our family, that I knew I had before, but I didn't have the perspective that I have now after this experiment, that like we are absolutely doing what is best for our family by homeschooling them, by just living the life that we live. So we're back home now, and although this journey took a detour, it only deepened our understanding of what we value most, which is learning together at our own pace, tucked into the warmth of our home, in our own little bubble of the world. I feel like you can be told that it's not okay to be in a bubble. It's maybe not good for children to not have every experience ever. But I've learned the opposite is true, for us at least. I've really learned to see the value in the bubble, in the importance of protecting childhood. We can't protect them from everything, and I don't intend to protect my children from everything. But I also understand now that when they are young, and 10 is still very young, that it is my duty to protect them, to shelter them, to create a lovely bubble for them, so that when they are grown, when the world comes at them, they will have a calm, safe space. Yes, in our home, but also within them, that they can carry outside of our home. They will have a home within themselves. I think a lot of issues we have as adults, a lot of adults with issues, have issues because we don't have a home within ourselves until we learn to build it ourselves. I don't want my kids to have to build it themselves. I want it to come with them. It's pre-installed. A lot of lessons were learned. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Leave them in the comments below. If you guys are homeschoolers and have ever done a trial of school, let me know if you would like to share your experience. I know I was a little bit vague in this video, and if you guys ask me super specific questions about like exacts, I probably won't answer them, but I'll do my best. I want to be open and honest while also protecting the privacy of my kids' experience. So I'm still navigating how to share that as my kids get older. They love me doing YouTube. They love being in photos on Instagram and stuff. My kids really understand it now, and they love participating. I'm still quite protective, so it's like a weird balance. So hopefully this video was at least like insightful or interesting. And if you guys, if you have questions, let me know. If you guys have experienced this, let me know. How long did you last in the public school system? Did you come back? Did you not come back? I think I learned a lot about myself too, and like some stuff that's really hard is really worth it. You know, homeschooling is not easy. It's not always easy. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. You know what I mean? Okay. Until next time, I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding when I step away a little bit to like deal with some life stuff, and then I'll come back and tell you about it. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're all well, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye guys. You say bye.